The word queer as defined by Heather Love is at its core about people uniting in deviation and existence away from established norms. This definition can be applied to the 2008 film Let the Right One In, a film which explores the complex relationship between a bullied 12-year-old boy and his mysterious new neighbor. The film distinguishes itself from the source material by opening itself up to a variety of queer interpretations and utilizing film form to portray queerness as existing outside the borders of cis-heteronormativity. An aspect of queerness explored in Let the Right One In is the adherence or failure to adhere to gender roles and expectations. A deuteragonist of the film, Oscar, is a distinctly non-masculine character in his appearance and his inability to stand up to his bullies. The filmmaking visibly enforces Oscar's isolation and queerness compared to others, separating him from his peers via depth of focus, being framed in close-up singles, and blocking which creates distance between him and other characters. Oscar's queerness comes from his failure to embody the gendered expectations of masculinity, which isolates him from his peers, and makes him a clear target for his more assertive peers to humiliate him for. But it is also queerness, represented by Ellie, that emboldens him to fight back against his bullies throughout the narrative, and that liberates him from them at the end of the film. A further aspect of gender queerness presented in the film is through Ellie, an over 200-year-old vampire who masquerades as a 12-year-old girl. In contrast to the source material, which reveals that Ellie is a castrated male named Elias, Ellie's gender is left ambiguous in the film. The removal of this reveal from the film leaves room for interpretation, allowing for a variety of queer interpretations, such as Ellie being agender. Textually, Ellie states that they are not a girl on multiple occasions, and the audience is very briefly shown Ellie's abnormal genitals, but does not go into detail about the cause in any way, which subtextually implies some type of physical queerness and androgyny. This could symbolize anything from sexual reassignment surgery to a rejection of sex entirely. This reflects Judith Butler's theory on sex and gender, where she argues that they are socially constructed acts which people repeat externally according to what they believe they are internally. Ellie's gender ambiguity makes them more of an abstract representation of queerness, a force of nature which disrupts the status quo of the small town they move to. The central romantic narrative in the film holds a variety of parallels to queer relationships. Oscar and Ellie's relationship subverts the typical heterosexual gender dynamics, and it exists outside the borders of societal norms. The pair push each other to stand up to Oscar's bullies, mirroring Love's definition of queer as a rallying cry against normality, and rendering their relationship as a subversion of what heterosexual relationships typically appear like. This is made most apparent in the climax of the film, where Oscar in essence becomes a damsel in distress at the hands of one of the bully's older brothers, where he is subsequently rescued by Ellie. Furthermore, Ellie's ambiguous gender makes the relationship neither heterosexual nor homosexual. The relationship transcends heteronormativity entirely and functions unlike any other typical human relationship. It can be inferred that Oscar will grow up to be much like the character of Johan, who commits brutal murders in order to feed Ellie out of love and duty as her familiar. But Ellie being the one to commit the murders throughout the film implies that to some extent their relationship will be different, or at the very least, Ellie chooses to protect Oscar's innocence for a little while longer. As Oscar and Ellie bond with each other, the filmmaking and blocking shifts from placing Ellie at the edges of the frame or in tight singles, to fit both characters in the frame and in the foreground. This emphasizes the solidarity the two share in being ostracized, and visually shows them creating their own space to share. Even in the final scene when Ellie is hidden in a box, the two share the frame, solidifying the strength of their relationship. To conclude, Let the Right One In is a film brimming with queer subtext that captures Heather Love's definition of queerness perfectly. The film captures and showcases much of the queer experience in great detail, yet maintains a wide scope that people of all queer identities can relate to and or sympathize with.